It's a Thursday night, and Jack is back with another edition of All or None, according to Jack. And we haven't done this in a while, maybe in a couple weeks, my Formative Years series. So if you look over my right shoulder, you'll see the year 1980. That is what we're going to talk about tonight. So here goes. If you recall the format, first we talk about notable albums released. Then we go on, we talk about notable pop hit songs, who won the Grammys that year, TV shows that happened or that premiered that year. Unfortunately, deaths that happened in the music world, movies, and last but not least, concerts that I attended. So let's start off with notable albums of 1980. So first, as you know, it's almost the new wave era. So we start with the Romantics with a self-titled debut album. Next, UFO, No Place to Run. This is a band that we've spoken about recently on our show. When I had Rick Labonte as a guest, we had a top 20 Rush. So we have Rush in 1980 released an album called Permanent Waves. Great album. The Pretenders, self-titled. The Jay Giles Band, Love Stinks. I would see them a year later in concert. We'll talk about that when we get to 1981. The Ramones, End of the Century. Bryan Adams, self-titled. I know they poked fun of him in the South Park movie. That was mildly amusing. The Knack, But the Little Girls Understand. That was the album where they went over the cliff, never to be heard from again. Elvis Costello, Get Happy. Bob Seger, Against the Wind. Squeeze, Argy Bargy. Uriah Heep, Conquest. Survivor, self-titled. The Psychedelic Furs, self-titled. Man, we're really getting into the new wave now. Billy Joel, Glass Houses. Def Leppard, On Through the Night, one of their earlier releases. Jermaine Jackson, Let's Get Serious, is a band that I don't care for. Journey, Departure. Triumph, Progressions of Power. Van Halen with their third album, Women and Children First. That took a few listens to get into, but I ultimately did. That was a great side one, I think, that album. Genesis, Duke. Loverboy, self-titled. The Scorpions, Animal Magnetism. The Joe Perry Project, Let the Music Do the Talking. Iron Maiden self-titled album. That's a group that we'll be talking about here. They'll be coming into prominence on this show in the future. Judas Priest, the monumental album 1980, British Steel. Good shit. Phil Lynott, Solo in Soho. Pete Townsend, Empty Glass. Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell. The Dio era started. Boz Scaggs, Middle Era. Middle Man. Sorry about that. Tommy Two-Tone, self-titled. Oh, he would have a hit in a couple of years about a phone number. Saxon, Wheels of Steel. Devo, Freedom of Choice. Paul McCartney, McCartney 2. Wow, a lot of albums to go through. Joan Jett, don't give a damn about a bad reputation. Kiss, Unmasked, no good. Peter Gabriel, self-titled. Foghat, Tight Shoes. White Snake, Ready and Willing. The Village People, Can't Stop the Music. Oh, yes, they can. Burton Cummings, Woman Love. Except I'm a Rebel. Bob Marley and the Wailers, Uprising. Blue Oyster Cult, Cultosaurus erectus. Rolling Stones, Emotional Rescue. Okay, second half of this list. Huey Lewis and the News, self-titled. You would be hearing a lot more of them in the 80s. Girls' School, Demolition. Queen, The Game. Crocus, great title, Metal Rendezvous. Steve Hackett, Defector. Ted Nugent, Scream Dream. Dexy's Midnight Runners. Come on, Eileen. The album's called Searching for the Young Soul Rebels. Echo and the Bunnymen. Crocodiles. AC/DC with a monumental kick-ass album. Sadly, we lost Bon Scott, but AC/DC rebounded with an amazing landmark album called Back in Black. Eddie Money, Playing for Keeps. Susie and the Banshees, Kaleidoscope. Pat Benatar, Crimes of Passion. The Cars, Panorama. Yes, Drama. Great album in itself. I love the song Tempest Fugit on that album. B-52's Wild Planet. Jethro Tull with the album A. It was originally supposed to be an Ian Anderson solo album, but the record label pressured him to make it into a Jethro Tull album. Very mixed emotions from the fan base on that one, me included. Next band I do not like, Captain Beefheart, Doc at the Radio Station. Ugh, how does anybody like that? Michael Schenker Group, self-titled. Allman Brothers, Reach for the Sky. Saxon with another one, Strong Arm of the Law. Good stuff. Dead Kennedys, Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables. Simple Minds, Empires and Dance. Doobie Brothers, One Step Closer. Ozzy Osbourne, Blizzard of Oz. Kool and the Gang, Celebrate Good Times, Come On. Good song. Molly Hatchet, Beating the Odds. I believe that was their first album with Jimmy Farrar on lead vocals. Actually, that's who I saw them with, both times. Peter Criss, Out of Control, as was his career at that time. The Police, Zenyatta Mondatta. They were really catching on. Prince, Dirty Mind. Talking Heads, Remain in Light. Thin Lizzy, Chinatown. In Excess, self-titled. Bruce Springsteen, The River. Cheap Trick, All Shook Up. Joe Jackson, Beat Crazy. Eagles, Eagles Live. Now this is when we knew that there were touch-ups live in the studio, because in their books they would, and basically in their documentary, they would say that they touched up that album from coast to coast. Glenn from, or was it Don from California? A bunch of the other guys from a studio in Florida to do their touch-ups. A lot of people do it, folks. Motorhead, Ace of Spades. a monumental metal song of its day. Neil Diamond, the jazz singer. John Lennon and Yoko Ono, Double Fantasy. Steely Dan, Gaucho. REO Speedwagon, High Infidelity. Blondie, Auto American. John Anderson, Song of Seven. Alan Parsons Project, The Turn of a Friendly Card. Steve Winwood, Arc of a Diver. So that was your notable album releases of 1980. Let's talk now about notable pop hits. Pink Floyd, Another Brick in the Wall. I think it was their first big hit and their first on Billboard to make it to #1. John Lennon, Just Like Starting Over. Lips Incorporated, Funky Town. So disco wasn't dead just yet. Diana Ross, Upside Down. Great song, Diana. Rupert Holmes, Escape, the Pina Colada song. If you like Pina Colada, getting caught in the rain. Paul McCartney, Coming Up, not one of his better ones. Olivia Newton-John, Magic. Queen, another good one. Do 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 do. Another one bites the dust. The Pretenders, a great song. Brass in Pocket. I think that was my first introduction to the Pretenders on rock radio. The Spinners, Working My Way Back to You. Good song. Love the Spinners. We will definitely talk about them when I do a revival of R&B at some point. ABBA, The Winner Takes It All. The Police, Don't Stand So Close to Me. Air Supply, All Out of Love. The Jacksons, Can You Feel It? The Spinners, Cupid, I Loved You for a Long Time. Kenny Rogers and Kim Carnes, Don't Fall in Love with a Dreamer. One of those many collaboration of multiple singer hits. Eddie Rabbitt with one of those country crossover songs that I really liked, Driving My Life Away. The Rolling Stones, title track off the album that I mentioned earlier, Emotional Rescue. The Pointer Sisters, He's So Shy. Bruce Springsteen, Hungry Heart. Linda Ronstadt, Hurt So Bad. The Eagles, I Can't Tell You Why. Split Ends, I Got You, That's All I Want. Beginning of the New Wave era for that one. Pete Townsend with a great song, Let My Love Open the Door. Jermaine Jackson, Let's Get Serious. Elton John, Little Genie. Air Supply, Lost in Love. Michael Jackson, Off the Wall. Great song. Donna Summer, On the Radio. Charlie Dory, Pilot of the Airwaves. Dan Fogelberg, Longer. Shalimar, Second Time Around. Yes, disco hadn't died yet. The Manhattans with a really nice R&B song, Shining Star. Not to be confused with Earth, Wind, and Fire's Shining Star. This one goes something like this. Honey, you are my shining star. Won't you go away? Yeah, baby. All right. I think I've given you enough of a synopsis on that one. Kenny Loggins with a good song, This Is It. Loverboy, Turn Me Loose. J.D. Souther, a man who collaborated on a lot of the Eagles' hits, finally has a hit of his own, You're Only Lonely. David Bowie, Ashes to Ashes. Kool and the Gang, Too Hot, another great song. George Benson, Give Me the Night, yet another great R&B song, early 80s R&B. Doesn't get any better than that song. Adam and the Ants, Ant Music. Kim Carnes, More Love. Not crazy about her voice. The Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. This is a band you haven't heard of in a while. An American Dream. Prince, I Want to Be Your Lover. The SOS Band, Take Your Time, Do It Right. Do It, Baby. And last but not least, Andy Gibb with Desire. Multiple pop hit artists. So Blondie had two, Call Me and The Tide is High, both great songs. My fellow Long Islander, Mr. Billy Joel with three. It's still rock and roll to me. Don't ask me why. Shh, you may be right. Christopher Cross. We would be hearing a lot more of Christopher Cross. Sailing, and a song by him that I do like, Ride Like the Wind. Good song. Kenny Rogers hit it big 3 times. Lady, Coward of the County, and You Decorated My Life. Fleetwood Mac, Sarah, and the title track to their double album, Tusk. Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band, Against the Wind, Fire Lake, Genesis, band that I'm sorry, I just could not get into after Peter Gabriel left and Genesis took them in more of a pop, or rather, Phil Collins took them in more of a pop direction. But they had the hits Misunderstanding and Turn Me On Again. Okay, sorry, but I had to pause for a second there. I was getting a bout of hiccups. That's never a fun thing. But we're ready to continue rolling. So we talked about pop hits and multiple pop hit artists. Let's talk about the Grammys of 1980. And this is a name that's going to be mentioned a few times as he swept quite a few awards. Album of the Year, Christopher Cross, self-titled. Record of the Year, Christopher Cross, Sailing. Song of the Year, Christopher Cross, Sailing. Best New Artist, Christopher Cross. So I have 2 points to make here. Number one, I guess I'll call him Mr. Yacht Rock, as that's a term that will be introduced maybe 18, 19 years later on Sirius XM radio. And that would become a thing, but not for us lowly middle class, working class people like me who can't afford to, yachts and shit like that. Point number 2, the Jen winner monopolized the Grammys too. But I did like his other song, Ride Like the Wind, so he's got that going for him. Best Pop Vocal Performance, Female, Bette Midler. Best Pop Vocal Performance, Male, Kenny Loggins. Best Pop Vocal Performance of a group, Barbra Streisand and Barry Gibb for the song Guilty. Okay, moving right along. New shows. Magnum Pi, starring Tom Selleck. Too Close for Comfort, a show that I really liked because I loved the main character, the main attraction or the star of that show, Ted Knight, with his basically his cynical approach to everything. Mr. Negativity cracked me up with his dumb neighbor, Monroe. It's a Living, Bosom Buddies, starring a young, relatively unknown Tom Hanks. Fridays, a show that would compete with Saturday Night Live. American Playhouse. Flamingo Road, starring Howard Duff, Morgan Fairchild, and a very young Mark Harmon. Sanford, a spin-off of Sanford and Son, but it only lasted 1 year. And then there was, Flo, from the movie Dumb and Dumber. They made a reference to Flo from Mel's Diner. Flo actually had her own spin-off show, but that only lasted 1 year as well. 10 Speed and Brown Shoe, Ben Vereen and Jeff Goldblum. Now, Jeff Goldblum, I credit for probably killing a show that I loved, Law and Order, Criminal Intent. As soon as he basically took over for Christopher Noth as one of the lead detectives, and then he was on full time when Vincent D'Onofrio left. I think the show was just kaputski by that point. Deaths of 1980. Longtime known singer Jimmy Durante. Sadly, we lost the rock metal world, lost Bon Scott. Tommy Caldwell and Marshall Tucker. Two very notable sad losses in 1980. First, there was John Bonham, drummer of Led Zeppelin, which very shortly after Led Zeppelin called it quits. Very sad about that. And then, of course, there was Beatle John Lennon, who was gunned down in the streets of Manhattan. So sad. Very sad. I still remember coming downstairs, having gotten dressed, going downstairs for breakfast, ready to go to school that day. My mother gave me the news. I broke down. It's just awful. Cheer me up a little bit. Movies, some great ones. Quite a few that I saw. Highlighted them in blue. So first there was The Blues Brothers. John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd. Great, funny freaking movie. We're on a mission from God. Great, funny movie. Cheech and Chong's next movie, American Gigolo. Urban Cowboy. Flash Gordon, the jazz singer. A more serious movie that I did see, The Elephant Man. Probably the best movie in the entire Star Wars series, The Empire Strikes Back. I am your father, Luke. Come with me. We shall rule this galaxy together. I digress. How to Beat the High Cost of Living. Famous one from Mr. Robert De Niro, Raging Bull. Ordinary People. The Shining with Jack Nicholson. I saw that one. Okay, so the next 5 I did see. There was My Bodyguard with little-known Chris Makepeace, who at the end of the movie beats up, what was his name? Matt Dillon, I believe, I think. Of course, there was Popeye, starring Robin Williams. Honestly, I think that was his best movie. It was silly, basically an idiot's delight, but I kind of liked it. Okay, so here's a couple for Pete Pardo's Thursday night show in the Monsters Den. Prom Night, a movie that I did see. And then The Fog, another one. Back to some comedy. Airplane, Don't Ever Call Me Shirley. This one I did not see. Bon Voyage, Charlie Brown. This animated movie I did see. The Return of the King in the Lord of the Rings series. Of course, there was Dom DeLuise and Anne Bancroft starring in a movie simply entitled Fatso. Fame, I'm Gonna Live Forever. Seems Like Old Times is a movie that I saw. Lily Tomlin, what the hell's their names? Dolly Parton and one other person that was it Susan Sarandon maybe? 9 to 5. I could be wrong. Coal Miner's Daughter. These next two movies I did see. Bronco Billy, starring, what the hell's his name? Clint Eastwood. A little bit more of a lighthearted comedy, but it was a good one. I enjoyed it. Of course, monumental movie for 1980 for me. Caddyshack. Great movie. The turd floating in the water of the pool with the Jaws theme. Dun, 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 dun. Too fun. Blue Lagoon. Friday the 13th. That was another movie that I saw. I did not like it. I'm sure it was spoken about on the Monsters Den. Sorry, that movie just did not scare me. I mean, it was a big come down after Halloween. I mean, granted, there was a lot of chopping, killing, but there was no suspense. You freaking knew it was coming. I wouldn't even call it a B movie. I'd call it a D movie. Oh God, Book 2. Next movie is a movie that I saw and I really did like. What's his name? Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor in Stir Crazy. Great movie. Funny as hell. Any Which Way You Can. Smokey and the Bandit 2. I believe Jackie Gleason's in that one. You didn't have my jeans. I ought to slap your mama. Another movie that I saw with Goldie Hawn, a great one, Private Benjamin. Foxes. Brubaker. Superman 2. And the Oscar goes to Ordinary People. All right, last but not least, let's talk about concerts that I've seen. So 1980, January or February 1980 at the Nassau Coliseum was the very first time that I saw Aerosmith. They had a band called Mother's Finest opening for them. Sadly, Joe Perry had left during the night of the Ruts album sessions. He was replaced by Jimmy Crespo. He had written a bunch of songs, but he left midway through production. On a positive note, it was a great set list that night. Still a great concert. Surprisingly, no Sweet Emotion in that concert, but that's okay. So album, or rather a concert that I saw in late 1980, I think November, well, was it? And I sat in the third freaking row. At that time was the closest that I ever got to a concert. And I saw Foghat and the Outlaws. Great show. I also saw Twisted Sister for the first time that year. I don't know if it was 80 or 81 at Hofstra University at some rock fest where, they sold a bunch of pictures and albums, and, you had a couple bands there. But the headliner that night was Twisted Sister. I got to see Dee Snider for the first time in his full garish outfit, which I thought was ridiculous, but they sounded great. This was before I think they even had a record contract. They might have just had a couple self-released singles. and they were still pretty much a local band that would play bars in and around the New York area, primarily on Long Island. On also, did I mention, so the other night I was on pro wrestlers that I had met with Chris Allo and Steven Keeler, and you may have seen a picture of me with Dee Snider and professional wrestler Mick Foley. So I did meet Dee Snider many years later. It was very cool. Another band that I saw in 1980, again at Hofstra University, the Rossington Collins Band, basically a brought back together band, which were parts of Leonard Skinner. And there was a female lead singer. I can't remember her name at the moment. I apologize. Dale Krantz, that's it. Dale Krantz was their singer. They played every song of that album. And then for their encore, they did an instrumental version of Free Bird as kind of a, homage, and out of respect to Ronnie Van Zant. Opening for them on that show, or in that show, was 38 Special. So that was a really good show. I remember there was a real screw up. They moved some seating around, so my seat was basically invalid. So they let me stand up in the front, and I was right by one of the main speakers, so I could not hear for a couple days after that. First of two times that happened. The other was Iron Maiden many years later at Hammerstein Ballroom, but we'll get to that another time. Two concerts that I bought tickets for, but I got grounded due to my grades not being up to par. I didn't understand it at the time, but I applaud my parents for sticking to their guns. So I bought tickets for two concerts, the Charlie Daniels Band and Ted Nugent. Fortunately, they didn't rip them up as like happened in the movie Detroit Rock City, where the mother burned his Kiss tickets. At least I was able to resell them and recoup my money. So there's that. Good times. So this was the year 1980. I remember telling my mother that New Year's, this is the decade where I'm going to get my driver's license. I'm going to go to college. Maybe I'll meet somebody, start my career. All good things will happen. Most good things did happen. So we'll get into that as the years progress. So I would like to say a very good night to everybody. If you like my content, please subscribe. A lot of people have been subscribing ever since I had Martin Popoff on the show. So I thank you all profusely. I'd like to thank my core group for always sticking by me. Thank you so much for that. I am now well over 15,000 views, so thumbs up to everybody. I love you all. You're the best. All or not, according to Jack. Have a good night, and we'll see you next time. Bye.